I am Pierre Bouvard, Chief Insights Officer here at the Audio Active Group at Cumulus Media in Westwood One. And today we're asking, what are the ideal media platforms to reach travel intenders? Well, according to a series of new studies, it's audio, AM/FM radio, and podcasts that reveal to be exceptionally good at reaching travel intenders. Our review of these new studies reveals that from a profile perspective, the travel intender profile looks very, very similar to the profile of heavy podcast and heavy AM/FM radio listeners. And interestingly, the profile of the heavy linear TV viewer looks nothing like the travel intender profile. But despite this, there's 4 times as much media spend going to linear TV than to the two audio platforms of radio and podcast. Now, when you look across audio, ad-supported audio, there is a wide variety of podcast genres that are rich in concentration with travel intenders. In fact, over 80% of the various podcast genres reveal consumers that are in the market to go traveling in the next year. And same thing for radio, a wide diversity of radio programming formats. Interestingly, of the formats, sports, that format where radio stations are carrying play-by-play and sports talk perform exceptionally well, over-indexing in categories such as hotels, airlines, and cruise lines. And lastly, 2 Westwood One sports case studies, both for hotel brands, one a flagship hotel brand, the other one a mid-range hotel brand, all show significant lift in brand equity thanks to their radio campaigns. Now, taking a look at the $4 billion that gets spent annually on the travel category, this from Vivek's Media Radar for 2025, the top media platforms for travel spend: search, mobile web, advertising, video on demand, social media, and lots of linear TV, cable networks, local spot, network broadcast. And you can see where's audio all the way at the bottom, where linear TV outspends audio 4-to-1 for the travel category, despite the fact that audio has a much better profile that aligns with travel intenders. So let's take a look, courtesy of MRI Simmons, at a socioeconomic profile of travel intenders. We're looking at median age, employment, household size, number of kids, median income. As you can see, the profile of the travel intender looks virtually identical to the profile of heavy audio consumers, whether it's heavy podcast listeners or heavy radio listeners. But unfortunately, the profile of the heavy linear TV viewer, where almost $1 out of $5 are going chasing this travel intender category, it looks nothing like the travel intender category across all 5 of the socioeconomic characteristics of travel intenders. The linear TV audience doesn't look like this target at all, whether you look at age, income, or employment. Now, the challenge has to do with demographics. MRI Simmons reveals that 62% of travel intenders are 18 to 54. That is a demographic that linear TV is very challenged to deliver. Nielsen Comparable Metrics says that in the 18 to 49 demographic in a typical week, only 52% of Americans 1849 watch linear TV. So basically, you spend $1 trying to reach 1849, half your money will never hit anyone 1849. Now, what about radio? Nielsen Comparable Metrics says AM/FM radio has an 84 reach every week among 18 to 49-year-olds. So AM/FM radio doesn't out-deliver linear TV in reach by a little. It out-delivers it by 30 reach points. That's 60% greater reach of 1849s that radio has versus TV. So another reason to really look at audio in that media plan. And how do you find travel intenders across AM/FM radio? Well, virtually every radio programming format has a huge proportion of consumers that say they're planning to travel in the next 12 months. In fact, if you look up and down this page, at least 70% of every radio station programming format indicate that they're going to be traveling. Same story with podcast genres. Here, it's 80% of the typical podcast genre or more say that they're going to be traveling in the next 12 months. The key with podcasting is go for scale and go for reach. Don't just buy 3 travel podcasts with microscopic audiences. Buy mainstream podcasts. Go for reach, go for scale, because you can see here, travel intenders are everywhere in the podcast media platform. Now, the sports radio format, that radio stations that carry play-by-play sports and sports talk are exceptionally strong in the travel category. Here we're looking at their index across a wide variety of hotel brands, and you can see they are over-indexed, the sports radio format, literally on every single hotel brand. Same thing for airlines, sports radio way over-indexing every single airline, and we see the same for cruise lines. So the sports format is exceptionally good at reaching travel intenders and people across all of these lodging, airline, and cruise line brands. So speaking of sports, let's take a look at 2 recent case studies of marketers who had invested in the Westwood One sports platform to sponsor NCAA college football and Summer Olympics highlights. First, we look at this flagship hotel brand that made a major sponsorship investment in Westwood One's Summer Olympic updates that ran all over America. The blue bars represent those that were exposed to the updates, the Westwood One updates, and the gray, those that were not exposed. And you can see across every single measure of brand equity, significant lift due to the radio campaign across Westwood One. We see increases in aided awareness, familiarity, brand favorability, consideration, first choice brand, and also ad recall. And for the mid-range hotel brand, their sponsorship of Westwood One's NCAA college football saw very strong mid-funnel brand equity lifts across familiarity, favorability, and brand consideration. So 5 key findings from all of these new studies. First, the heavy audio consumer is virtually identical in profile to American travel intenders. Unfortunately, linear TV watchers, it does not look anything like the travel intender target. But despite this, the travel category is overspending by 4x on linear TV and underspending on ad-supported audio platforms like podcast and AM/FM radio. And you can find travel intenders all across podcast genres and radio programming formats, especially on sports formatted radio stations that over-index on hotel brands, airlines, and cruise lines. And we saw from the 2 Westwood One sports case studies for the 2 hotel brands that an investment in sports, whether it was NCAA football, whether it was Olympic updates, shows significant lift in brand equity. The Audio Active Group here at Cumulus Media and Westwood One is a full-service national brand advisory, and we focus on helping our clients measure their national impact, whether it's brand lift, search and site attribution, sales effect, or even creative pre-testing. Each and every week, we publish a new audio insight and case study. You can find it on our blog at cumulusmedia.com or westwood1.com. And when you're there, you can sign up to get the weekly audio case study sent directly to your email box. Thanks so much for the opportunity to take you through brand new research on why audio is an ideal platform to reach American travel intenders. Thanks so much.